Here in the middle.
¿Intercambiamos?
Okay, I speak. He's one of my idol, my hero, and when I made my debut in Newell's Old Boys, he was the captain, and I learned a lot of things, too many things, and the player that after I was, and the coach that I am, is part of his credit, because all my generation that we made the debut with him, and of course we put him there, but also we learned a lot. For me, he was one of the greatest players in Argentina and the world, and then one of the best coach, with no doubt. And for me, I am a little bit shaking because for me it's top, and Jorge also, and we always keep a very good relationship, and we want to say thank you for letting us know to work here, to train here, and only we want to change, the shirt.
Bueno, ¿me traducís? Okay. Ah, no está, ya.
I can tell it to you.
Bueno,
en español está bien, en español.
¿Está bien en español? Lo traducimos.
Bueno, es el trabajo de Justin.
Que pagamos aparte. Bueno, nada, muy generoso Mauri con las palabras, y nosotros tenemos un gran afecto con Jorge, lo vimos crecer. Nosotros ya éramos un poco veteranos, y la realidad es que ha hecho una carrera fantástica, tanto como futbolista y ni que hablar como entrenador. Le deseamos todo lo mejor para esta Copa del Mundo.
Te quiero mucho.
Bueno,
I love you.
I love you. Bien. Ahí está.
Fix you like this.
Y cambio.
Cambio
Yes.
así. Así. Turn. Oh, sorry.
¿Tenéis, por favor?
Vamos. No, ponete vos en el medio. ¿O del otro lado? Dale.
Sí.
O al revés, andá vos, Jorge, del otro lado.
Jorge, venía.
Sí. Y yo me quedo acá.
Ahora una sin camiseta.
Bueno, muchas gracias, amigo.
Yo también te quiero. Sí, mucho. Muchísimas gracias.
Hasta luego. Gracias. Hasta luego.
Número 2.
Gracias.
A vos. Quiero que... You always come here, no? You always
Yes,
in my
I always
life.
come there.
He's always in my life.
Okay, we're joined by the head coach of the USMNT national team, Mauricio Pochettino. If you have a question, please raise your hand. We'll begin with Copa.
Mauricio, ¿qué tal?
Hola.
Quería preguntarte si esta selección que vas a enfrentar mañana es la mejor selección, por lo menos en teoría, desde tu llegada a Estados Unidos, y has dirigido muchos jugadores belgas. ¿Nos podrías contar un poco sobre, porque uno conoce los alemanes, los franceses, los españoles, Argentina, Brasil, pero no tanto del futbolista belga, y explicarnos un poco esa evolución para convertirse en una selección top?
Bueno, yo lo que creo es que hemos jugado con muchas selecciones de muy buen nivel. No podría decir una delante de la otra o subestimar a una selección u otra. Creo que hemos, durante nuestro proceso de muchos partidos, quizás los más difíciles han sido a los equipos que menos quizás, en teoría, nombre tenían. Porque creo que es una competición más de nosotros con nosotros que de nosotros contra el contrario. Creo que hoy hemos llegado a un nivel donde estamos bastante cerca de estar al nivel que queremos estar, y entonces ahora sí, es competir con los demás. Bélgica es una gran selección, un gran entrenador que conozco muy bien y que admiro. Es un equipo con mucha calidad. El jugador belga es un jugador técnico, es un jugador que mezcla la fuerza física con la técnica. Es un fútbol ágil, Es un fútbol que produce muchas buenas emociones desde lo estético también. He tenido muchos jugadores, en el caso de Vertonghen, Toby Alderweireld y demás, y siempre he tenido muy buena relación porque son un país que aman el fútbol y que entienden muy bien lo que significa competir. Así que mañana vamos a tener un rival muy difícil, pero no te puedo decir que es más difícil que cuando jugamos contra México, contra Uruguay, o contra Paraguay, o contra Ecuador. El respeto siempre es máximo ante nuestros oponentes.
Steve, to your right.
Yeah, Mauricio.
Yeah, hello.
What is the situation with the center backs injured, and how does that make things more difficult for you for at least one game, maybe two games?
Yes, for sure, Miles Robinson is out for the 2 games. He suffered a minor injury in his groin. I think was Monday or Tuesday. I don't know if Monday or Tuesday. And then Chris, difficult situation to assess and to explain because he played Thursday. In Europe with Palace, and then the club gave permission to come to America, and he reported Monday some problems in his knee. After we were assessing him, he was training some part of the training Tuesday, but he cannot finish Wednesday, and he now feels something in his knee. We hope that it's nothing important, but for tomorrow is out. And I don't believe that can arrive Tuesday and see we can assess him if to take risk or not to take risk. But it's true that the situation, lucky that we brought five central back, and now with the possibility with something happen, some players like Joe Scally or Tanner Stesman that maybe they can play there. But it's a situation. And when we talk about, to be right in the player that you pick, is that happening in a World Cup? We need to, see all the options that we can have because the circumstance can happen. This type of circumstance can happen.
Doug.
Hello.
You've been pretty clear that these matches coming up, you don't look at them as friendlies. The team ended last year in a very good way, 3 wins in a row. For these 2 games, how do you balance the results, how important the results compared to assessing the players and the overall performance in the 2 games?
Yeah, I propose one thing, if you agree with me or no, and if you not, no problem, It's rather to call friendly games, not official game. Rather to say friendly, we start to say no official game. No, I think for me it's better because friendly is to play with friends, a group of friends against another group of friends. And not official is when, it's competitive game, but doesn't count in the World Cup or in a Gold Cup or in different another tournament. But I think it's important because for me are not friendly games, because friendly games is when you not really compete. You go to play and say okay, play, but we need to compete because we need to create good habits. Where your question is too many things, too many areas that we are assessing about to make the final roster. Of course, the performance here is what counts more than to perform in your team, in your club, because different circumstances, like it's in the case of Gio Reyna. Maybe he's not playing for different circumstances, but maybe he's a good player for us. Maybe it's different. He's the playmaker that maybe a profile like we are, like a coaching staff, we like. And if he can perform not playing in his team, maybe, he will have the possibility to make the roster. But this type of situation, the circumstance is about, to be flexible, not to be really strict in the rules that you settle. I think from the beginning we say it's a plenty of different things that we assess to after to make the roster and to make the final roster. Maybe you will see some player playing that maybe they are not going to be on the World Cup, or maybe some players that are not playing make the roster. The final roster is because that we were talking. Is we need to see something now. We need to accept some player, but I think everyone that is going to be there. Because we want to see players that normally play and not playing how behave, players that maybe they need to maybe take the responsibility because if something wrong happened, the circumstance like happened with Chris Richard or, some player need to play there, we need to see now. No, we cannot in an official competition to say, oh, we need to, like sometimes say, oh, you are doing some playing with the lineup or do some invention like with no sense things. No, it's things that we need to prove, we need to test. If that is in some circumstance negative, we can use or not can use.
Jeff.
Mauricio, over here. In previous windows, you've spread out the playing time almost amongst the entire roster. Is that going to be your approach this time? And as a follow-up, what do you think Weston McKennie's best position is in this team? Because obviously he's played a lot of different roles for Juventus.
The first part,
todos los jugadores en los dos partidos, más o menos?
if we are going to use all the players in the two games, the good thing that we have 11 changes that we can do, and we'll see, depend of the circumstance of the game. That is the first, part of the question. And the second, I think Weston is, I told in my previous press conference that he's doing really well in his club. And what I am seeing from Weston that start like a striker, go like a midfielder, finish like a fullback in some games. Some games start like a fullback, go like a midfielder, and finish like a striker. Now, seeing him, understand, that he's a player that have, the capacity to understand the game, and he adapt his characteristics to the demand of the game, and what sometimes, to help the team. When the team needs some different option in different position, he can provide that. Yes, I am so happy. I think he's very focused, and he was training really well, and yes, I think he's an important player. I think that is not new for us. Being in the level that we are seeing him, he's a good player, and he can have the option, big option to be on the roster. That is clear, no?
So just a point of information, with the new changes in the rules, one of them is a change in the amount of substitutions. It moves from, por favor, the minimum was 6 substitutions, it is now 8 substitutions. Teams can agree up to 11 substitutions. If the teams do not agree on a number above 8, it remains 8. Okay, so we have confirmed 11 changes for the Belgium match. I will get you the information regarding the Portugal match. Okay, to your right, Ron Paul.
You've had a lot of great players on your team, big personalities like Messi and Neymar and Harry Kane. What would you say is the meaning of Christian's personality to this team?
Well, I think we cannot compare Harry Kane with Messi, Messi with Mbappe, with Neymar, with Pulisic, with Heung-min Son, with...
But just in their interaction with teammates and what they mean to the group.
I think all are different, but I think the interaction with the group, all have their personality. They are all, I think, different, but similar to another player, no? Similar in our squad, like, I don't know, Tanner Tesman or Johnny Cardoso or Tim Ream or Chris Richard or, I think everyone have their personality, and then they have, the way to communicate, the way to behave, the way to, to create some dynamic with some people closer, because that all is about skin and have things in common, no?
Is he as important to the group as we in the media make him out to be?
Es Christian hablando más importante del equipo. ¿Qué piensas?
No, I come on, I'm not going to go again what the media say. I think you have, you are free to to say what you want and what you perceive. That is the most important thing. I told the player the other day, we are the most democratic coaching staff, inclusive and diverse and everything, and we respect. The first thing is we respect all the people and all the opinion. The only thing that if you belong to this organization, no, soccer, and you need to have some guide, some line of, what you want to say. That doesn't mean that you agree or not agree. If, I think if we are in this system of soccer, of football, we need to respect FIFA, we need to respect my federation, we need to, that doesn't mean that I can think in the same way or not. But if not, if I can do something different, I need to go away of this system and to create my own party. And like Mauricio Pochettino, I start to try to fight against the things that I don't believe are fair. But if not, I need to be aligned with the federation, because on the end, if not, I am not talking here. I am not here because I am Mauricio Pochettino. It's because I am the head coach of the USMNT national team. We are agree or no? That is why I don't like when I don't like the hypocrisy and the populism. That is why I want to be clear. But I think the respect that you have from me, that is when it's never personal. But for me, I celebrate, because I think that is why we are in a world today that everyone can say what they want.
Jeff, straight ahead.
Hi, Mauricio. Jeff Ruder with The Guardian US here. You've had a lot of time to figure out your midfield, and I think midfield's become a very competitive group of players. Tyler obviously missing this window after picking up an injury with Bournemouth. Have you felt like you've gotten a sense of what you're looking for from your midfield? And as you go about selecting not just these lineups, but your squad for the summer, how will form...
Every time that we are seeing a team playing, I'm going to give one example that is because it's good to recognize. The two best teams in the history of the football is Barcelona, Real Madrid, and you remember, Xavi, Iniesta, Busquets. Real Madrid, Kroos, Modric, Casemiro. And if we are winning games, it's because, I don't know the names, we cannot compare with these guys, but it's because they are doing well. Every time that a team works, it's because the midfielders are good. And I think, any player that was playing against Paraguay or against Ecuador or against Australia or against Japan or against Uruguay, I think any combination that were all different, I think work. That is why, like you say, I am agree with you. The competition is high, and it's going to be tough to pick, the right player for the final roster. It's a big job. I am suffering 2 months in advance.
Sanjay. Con el medio campo, ¿qué piensas del rendimiento recientemente de Johnny en Atleti, y también qué has visto esta semana con Johnny, y crees que él está listo para finalmente ayudar al equipo?
Yes, that we were talking. No, we need to assess in an individual way every single player, because you remember the last performance of Johnny on the national team? 45 minutes, yes. And the problem is it's difficult to find the fresh, memories about him performing in the national team. But if I say to you, Gio Reyna, you say, oh, again, Paraguay scored a goal and it was a few months ago. That is why we need to assess. We need to be careful how we assess the player. That is why it's a great opportunity for Johnny, because he's performing really well in Atlético de Madrid. His adaptation to USA main national team, because every time that he came, if you remember, in Jamaica only played a few minutes and got injured, and then in the Gold Cup played a little bit only but was injured. That was after Turkey. And this type of thing we need to assess. We need to see when the player like Taylor, how many minutes play with us in 1 year and a half or nearly 2 years, not too many. It's all this type of thing, because we cannot bring players that are not reliable with the national team. We need to be very, very sure that the players that are going to be here have the possibility, after the risk to be injured, of course. But I think it's so important that we need players that not only come to live the experience to be on the squad, is to help on the pitch, fighting to try to play. That is the importance in that is why hope Johnny have the possibility now tomorrow or again Portugal to play and to perform and to to build his good feelings like he has in Atlético de Madrid here with the national team. That is really important.
Paul, in the back.
You asked me in Spanish. I answer in English. always happen.
In the back.
You are going to miss me. You are going to miss me. Me vas a extrañar.
Tercera fila a la derecha.
Paul Tenorio from The Athletic. Mauricio, is it fair, kind of from your answers, to say that these games are a chance to test different things, different players and roles, maybe, like you said, maybe Tessman at center back or Freeman inside or outside? Is this about testing so that you can find the right combinations in the roster and there's confidence that
Yes, we are thinking a little bit in not from the beginning, because I think we have player to use in that position. Joe Scally can play like a central back. That is, I think, is an option, more defensive option that or more normal option that Tessman. But also during the game, maybe we can change and do some changes, taking advantage of the 11 players that we can change during the game, because I think we need also to be careful how we manage the game time, because they are coming all for long season and MLS a player no, but I think the players that in Europe like Tessman playing a lot, or like Weston or Christian or different player than play there. But it's a great opportunity. It's a great opportunity, trying to do things, testing player, testing situation, but keeping high the competition, competing really well. We need to be capable to maybe to do some changes during the game, but keeping our level of competition. That is the challenge, good challenge for us now.
Over to your left.
Mark Canizaro from the New York Post. With regarding to Christian Pulisic, when he is healthy and fit, how dynamic can he be for you guys? Obviously, there's a lot of attention here in the States, about him.
Yes, I think what he needs is people treat him in a natural way. He's a very normal guy. It's to be seen, the last months we have communication. I think he's doing well now in Milan. He's playing regular. He needs to score. He told me I need to score. Of course, but I say relax, calm. For sure you will score because you have the capacity. But I think it's important thing that we are like a group now. We are feeling, all the same. That the most important is the badge, is the national team, and is to add our quality in the way that we can add how we are in a genuine way. If you are a guy that you laugh, you need to laugh. If you don't laugh, you don't need to laugh. You cannot be fake. We need to add the good energy, the energy that your genuine energy, how you are, not to try to act. And I think today what we achieve and what we earn is all the players when arrive to the national team, you can see the real face. They are not acting. They are doing, the thing that how they are, how they behave.
Quick follow-up about these two games coming up. What's the dynamic for you about not wanting to show upcoming opponents, World Cup opponents, too much in these two matches, while at the same time trying to find your tactics and your combinations?
I think we wanted that we decided to bring this type of opponent because we wanted to play again good teams that can show our reality. And what we want is to compete in our best way, training tactics, how we train in all this week, is trying to create all the good dynamics in between the whole group, not only the 11 players that are going to play. That was a thing that I think, was what you see in Tampa and in Philadelphia, that we were training with two teams and they, and in the way that the national team play against Paraguay and against Uruguay with different players, I think the identity was was the same. Not we didn't change because the characteristics of the player were different, and that I think is unbelievable goal or thing that we earn. And but now we need to keep, because we now in this camp we have 10 players different than the previous camp, and that is important now. The 10 players that now are new in this camp can show the same, level of intensity, commitment, but the most important, the identity.
Right here in the front.
Obviously, with where we are with the World Cup coming, one word that's been used a lot this week is pressure. And Henry was saying this week how important it is to feel that pressure, but to not let it tighten you and make you play in a way that you wouldn't. As a coaching staff, how are you guys kind of finding that balance? And for you, as someone who's been in their shoes looking at a World Cup and wanting a role, how does that sort of impact how you manage them and how you kind of walk them through this moment?
Yeah, it's a good point. In my past, before to arrive here, I watch all the sport, American sport. And the things that I really enjoy, that in all the athletes that were involved in different sport, play like they play free, trying to perform and to entertain and to give entertainment to the people, the fans. Because no consequence if you lose. The only consequence is you are sad, but you go home and that's it. You don't get the relegation. And sometimes, like I don't know if you or Sam told me one day, we reward failures. No, it's like if you are in the bottom in some sport, you pick the best player for your team, but that in Europe doesn't happen. That is why all the pressure for me, for this guy they sitting there, the coaching staff, yes, the pressure for us. But like American people that we want the best for the national team, let to our athletes that they perform, sending good energy, but not to create some thing in their mind to say, oh, it's a tragedy if you lose. Because when the American, what the thing that we learn, or we learn, the coaching staff, that we are American but South American, is when you are free, you perform. When you feel happy, you perform. You don't need to feel the pressure. Because the pressure is a thing that if you don't deal perfectly with this, can be heavy. And I was in 2002 in the World Cup in Japan and Korea. And Argentine people feel the pressure, because football is about to survive. You start to play football because you love the game, but also, to survive. And was really an energy that was so heavy, and we didn't deal with that. That is why the challenge is to transform that we host the World Cup and the expectation that we have in energy, and to create amazing energy in between the fans and us, and that is your responsibility. For me, what I would like to hear is expectation. I like, but pressure is like no. For me, yes, I know. For Jesus also, we are 52. We know how to deal, but the player need to feel the support and the belief, the trust, the confidence, and say, hey, we believe in you. We believe in you. One thing that I told the other day is, why not us? Why not us? Why not us? We need to really believe that we can be there. We need to dream. Because dream, Jesus, go to what I put in my board. Dreams. Sorry, Jesus. Dreams inspire. He made the homework. Inspire reality.
No one tell Mauricio
Dreams.
he's 54. Next question is Doug Roberson in the back.
Oh, to that end, the why not us? Can you sell to the average American who may not follow U.S. soccer as much why the U.S. is a contender for the World Cup?
because we are American people. I think that is all. I think if I am here, I hear the other day a press conference from some coaching staff in another national team. They say, okay, if we say we are going to win, we are showing too much arrogance. And maybe, he's so arrogant, it's not realistic, he doesn't know that. It's okay. If we say, well, it's going to be difficult to win, it's negative, it's not optimistic, it's creating negative things. What I am saying, I am here because I believe that we can win. And what I can tell to the people is really believe. That happen or not happen is too many factors in the middle. But the most important is that we believe that we can perform and to compete, and for sure that we can earn what we want. If not, I think it's impossible to say another thing. It's difficult for me in my mind because always I was in this way, thinking that it's possible, always. To the people that maybe doesn't understand soccer or support another sport, I will invite to come and see and hope that he can be attracted for the energy that the team is going to send. Because what I really believe is the team, the national team, our player and us all together, we need to send the right energy and good emotion to the people, for the people to really believe in us and to support us, for sure.
Ben.
Mauricio, good to see you. Ben Jacobs from TalkSport. You spoke about dreams, and of course your focus will be on naming your squad. But I wonder how you'll approach breaking bad news to the players that you won't take to the World Cup, because you've done so much in your career, but you've actually never stood down a player to a World Cup. So what will be your approach?
I was in the two positions when I was a player. In 1998 and 94, I was in the radar, but on the end, I didn't call me for the World Cup. And in 2002 in Korea, Japan, I was on the final roster. For me, it's how we settle the principles and the communication from the beginning when we arrived here. If you remember, there was some controversial thing that, I don't know if that is a nice word, controversial.
It's okay. Could have been worse.
No, but I think it's how the new coaches communicate or not communicate, you know? And I think that was the one of the subjects that we were talking when we didn't win. It's because being consistent. That is why how we settled the way to communicate with the player was maybe in different way that maybe use another coaching staff. That is because I think is when you settle that principle, after it's easy. But for us is, of course, if you want to call me, you can call me. But I'm not going to call you because I need to call 150 players. I have no time, literally no time to call everyone. But I think it's about to respect the 70 plus players that were involved in all this process, that they really know, if in case not to call, that we have our full respect to them. And the relationship that we built when they were with us was the best that we can do. You know, always pay attention more than in the professional side, in the human being. And of course that they are going, for sure, no doubt, they are going to, if you will ask, they are going to say, no, the coach for sure is sad that cannot call me. What we cannot do is, because I was in this side, I'm not going to, you are not in the final roster. And if I am the player, say, why you call me for bad news? No. But if they have the necessity to call me, for sure that I'm very open to explain why. But I think it's how you settle the communication and the principle. And of course, it's going to be really sad to make some decision because only 26. But that is football, and that is the rule that we need to accept when we are here. No?
En la parte de atrás.
Sí.
Hola,
Hola.
Elizabeth de CNN. Hablabas hace un momento acerca de la autenticidad del estar cerca de tus jugadores y yo quisiera saber primero, desde que llegaste a esta selección, ¿cuál ha sido el cambio? Porque te conoces por tu línea de trabajo exigente, pero al mismo tiempo justa. ¿Qué has podido ver? ¿Qué cambio has podido ver? Y luego, los jugadores que estuvieron esta mañana, Weston y Christian, hablaban de lo cercano que eres. Sé que dijiste en inglés palabras motivacionales que le has dicho, pero en español, ¿cómo es tu comunicación con ellos? ¿Qué les dirías para motivarlos a que entren en la última convocatoria?
Estoy de acuerdo con todo lo que has dicho. No se me olvidó. Fue muchas cosas y muchas cosas bonitas. Que a nosotros, por lo menos, es una de las cosas que más satisfacción nos da en nuestro trabajo, ¿no? Porque primero de ser profesionales o ser jugadores o coaches somos personas y creo que eso es lo que siempre intentamos de cuidar al máximo, ¿no? Yo creo que la motivación comienza desde el primer día que tú te encuentras con una persona, con un grupo de jugadores, con un grupo de staff. Yo creo que la motivación no es algo que viene cuando la llamas y dices, ahora te voy a motivar y te motivo. No, yo creo que es una preparación mental. Es la preparación que tú... Es esa energía vital, ¿no? Que tú tienes dentro tuyo donde tú preparas tu cuerpo, tu mente, todo tu ser en empezar a disfrutar de lo que tú haces. Yo creo que hay cosas, ¿no? que tienen que tener un plan, ¿no? Tienen que tener un plan porque tú no, yo creo que las palabras muchas veces son vacías. Yo te puedo hacer un discurso motivacional acá, increíble, pero si no creo un lazo emocional contigo, es imposible que tú te motives ante mi palabra, porque mi palabra te llega a ti como algo que realmente yo pienso o algo que necesito yo decírtela para yo estar tranquilo y conforme que te trato de motivar. Pero si no tiene efecto en esto aquí, en el corazón, en la emoción, es muy difícil. Entonces yo creo que es un trabajo de tiempo que lleva, dependiendo de las características tuyas, ¿no? De cómo eres, de cómo sensible eres, de cómo emotiva eres, de qué capacidad intelectual tengas, de qué forma de que te emocionan las cosas. Entonces yo creo que todo ello lleva un tiempo de conocer a esta persona, a esa persona, a los jugadores, y entonces a partir de ahí poder llegarles a todos de una manera diferente y no perderse en unas... Hoy estamos vemos muchos speech después de los partidos, y son speech que son todos parecidos. ¿Tú te piensas que todos los jugadores sienten el mismo efecto de placer? Pues muchos seguramente no, y algunos sí, que a lo mejor mucho más sensibles. Pero cuando esto se vuelve repetitivo y hay que hacer algo para que la gente nos vea, pues pierde totalmente el efecto motivante o el efecto ese que realmente te hace dar un poco más, te hace pelear mucho más, te hace involucrarte y tener mucho más compromiso, ¿no? Y creo que ese es el gran poder que nosotros como cuerpo técnico, estando Jesús acá, o lo que nosotros también no solamente hemos evolucionado en la parte táctica o estratégica, sino creo que esa parte es la parte que marca la diferencia con el tiempo. Lógicamente que es algo donde necesitas mucha energía, porque la involucración a nivel personal te demanda un tiempo y te demanda una energía que esa es tu energía vital, que conectas con la otra persona. Y después, cuando esos lazos son emocionales, las decisiones, como decíamos antes, son muy difíciles de tomarlas. Porque ¿el mayor cambio que has visto? Es ese. Yo creo que es ese. Es esa conexión que hemos logrado con el staff, con los jugadores, cómo el staff ve de parte de cómo nosotros respetamos a los jugadores y cómo los jugadores ven en nosotros cómo respetamos al staff. Como tú dijiste, con la exigencia, ¿no? Tratando de ser justo, que no es fácil, pero bueno, con la responsabilidad de que estamos conduciendo una empresa que tiene que rendir. De nada.
USA Belgium presented by AT&T tomorrow 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time at Mercesdes-Benz Stadium. The match will be broadcast live on TNT, HBO Max, Telemundo, Universo, Peacock, Westwood One Radio, and Football Day Primera.
And after you translate all my answer.
Everything very good. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.